And today we talked about fractions and changing them to decimals. There's a good number of these, well, there's a whole bunch of different ways to do this, really. The first way is, you know a lot of fractions already. For example, if you think in terms of money, half of a dollar is 50 cents, so the decimal equivalent for that is that. 3/4 of a dollar is 75 cents, so you know its decimal equivalent. Well, what about numbers like 3/5? What about numbers like 3/5? How do I get the decimal? And the thing to remember is that our decimal system is based on cutting things in tens. Okay, if everything was in tens, life would be easy, but it's not. This is in fifths. Okay, we want tenths, hundreds, thousands. That's what our decimal system does, cuts everything equal in tens. And there's a couple different ways I'm going to show you to do this. You get to kind of pick your own, I suppose, unless it tells you the way to do it. Gary, Ronnie?
You double it
Why would I double it, sir?
so that it equals 9.
Okay, one way to go about it is look at this bottom number, because if you can get the bottom number into 10 or 100 or 1,000, you can write the decimal. So Gary says double it, so that means times both the top and the bottom by 2, you end up with 6/10, and there's your decimal, 6/10. Okay? Or if you had something like, 33/50. Okay, again, decimal systems based on tens, hundreds, thousands. If I can get the bottom of this fraction into 100 or 1,000, I can write the decimal. Can I do that with this one, Jacob?
Yeah.
What do I have to do to it? Double it again, and I get 66/100, which is 66 hundredths. But what happens when you come across a fraction that is like this? 7/8. Because trying to figure out, first of all, you ain't gonna be able to get it into a 10. 100, 8 doesn't go evenly to 100. 8 does go into 1,000, but for you to try to figure out how many times 8 goes into 1,000, it's gonna be a little goofy. What is the surefire, no matter what happens, way to change a fraction to a decimal? Does anybody know? It's really logical if you think about it, because we've done this before. Let me throw this at you. What if I had 8/4? What does that equal?
1/2.
Why is it equal to? Because it's 8 divided by 4. Well, same thing here. This fraction is nothing more than a glorified division problem, and it is top divided by the bottom. In other words, it is 7, let me find somewhere where this writes, divided by 8. Okay, and that's why you get a decimal for an answer, because it doesn't go into all, you put a decimal at 7, and you just start doing your division until it works out. Add zeros, as many zeros as it takes to work out or start repeating, that's what you need to do. How many times does 8 go into 70?
8.
Okay, 8 times, which is 64. How many times does 8 go into 60? 7 times, which is 56. And how many times does 8 go into 40? 5 times. So the 7/8 decimal equivalent is 0.875. For those of you who are baseball players, if you got up to bat 8 times and you got 7 hits, your batting average is 875. Because batting averages are always out of 1,000s. Do Major League Baseball players get up 1,000 times in the year? I don't think they do.
No.
How many games in the Major League Baseball season? 100? 120?
100.
It's a lot.
I thought it was like this one.
Well, they play basically one every day from opening day, which is like the beginning of April, all the way through.
Wait, 162.
Is there 162 games? And then sometimes they play double headers.
Like
I don't know.
they can get up to that more than once.
So another one would be, and some of them get kind of goofy. For example, I don't know if I even want to do this. The book says use a calculator, which we're not going to do. If they tell you use a calculator, generally they'll tell you you can skip it. Well, 3 and again, only do that, that's kind of the last worst case scenario, because you should be able to flip 3 3/10 into a decimal pretty quickly, because that's already in tenths. What would it be as a decimal, DJ?
3.32.
3.3, yeah, I just have to say 3.3, I don't need that. 7 2/5. Same thing is true, you should be able to change 2/5 into a decimal without having to do all that division. 2/5 is how many tenths? It's the same as 4/10, so it's 7 4/10. But every once in a while, you're gonna run across something like 1/6. 1/6 is an interesting one. Okay, you're not gonna get that to go into 10 or 100. I don't even think into 1,000. As a matter of fact, I'm not so sure you'll get it into anything, because if we do the division, this is what I like about math right here. How many times does 6 go into 10? Once. I get 40. How many times does 6 go into 40?
6 times.
6 times, which is 36. I subtract, I get 4, bring down this thing. How many times does 6 go into 40? 6 times. I subtract, I get 4. How many times does 6 go into 40? 6, thank you. So I have 40 minus 36 is 4, I bring down another 0. How many times does 6 go into 40? Okay. You'll never stop doing that problem if I told you to do all the way to the end, because it's a repeating decimal. Anybody know what I do when I do that? How do I show a repeating decimal? Kelsey? No, I don't pi. Did you say
You
pi?
bake pie, you have to make us pie.
How do you show a repeating decimal? Rather than writing all these 6's up here, and you're not really supposed to put that little thing that means it goes on there. You're supposed to do what, Jacob? No, it has nothing to do with pi. Just get pi out of your mind, pi people there. Gary?
You're supposed to round the first two digits.
Nope, not rounding either. Okay, anytime you have a repeating decimal, okay, the digit or digits, because sometimes it's more than one that repeat, you put a line above. In other words, you do this, 0.1. The 1 doesn't repeat, but the 6 does, so I put a line above that like that, and then that just tells somebody that 6 keeps on repeating for absolutely ever. You would never stop with that. Fascinating math today, just absolutely fascinating. Alright,